Hello and welcome to This Week in East Brunswick, the town's own news and information program. Tonight we'll hear some information on the upcoming International Soccer Tournament from the Publicity Chairman, Joel Henkin. Also some recycling tips from Recycling Coordinator Ed Jablanowski. Our regular features include garden tips with Middlesex County Agricultural Agent Pegi Ballister-Howells, local allergist Dr. Martin Rosenstein with practical approaches to avoidance and treatment on health facts, and consumer advocate Adrian Eisner with advice on heat stress. And we'll wrap it up with our Township Council review. But first, a quick look at what's on Channel 8 next week. Monday at 10 a.m., it's Look Great, Feel Great with Lenore Kulik, East Brunswick's own health, beauty, and fitness show. At 10:30, it's Target with Paula Durant, and a special one-hour program about Hiroshima with Hisako Anai and Dr. Lloyd Gardner. Tuesday at 7 p.m., it's In Print, produced by the Libraries of Beverly Hills, California. At 7:30, Ken Shalhoub hosts Let's Talk Health with the first part of a two-part show on modern nursing. And at 8 p.m., it's You and Your Money with Paul Hansen and his guest discussing how the new tax laws will affect real estate investors. Wednesday at 2:30, it's Stories for the Kids, read by East Brunswick librarians. At 7:30, it's Spotlight on Education with a special introduction to East Brunswick Public Schools. And we'll be back next Thursday night at 7 and 8 p.m. with an all-new This Week in East Brunswick. Be sure to check the Channel 8 program guide for repeats of all of our shows.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Joel Henkin. I'm Publicity Chairman of the East Brunswick Soccer Club's 8th International Labor Day Tournament. There's going to be a lot of things going on around town this Labor Day weekend. That's September 5th, 6th, and 7th, right here in East Brunswick, because you're going to be seeing some of the finest soccer in the country. Teams from, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Connecticut, Virginia, and Canadian teams will be here to play in one of the major soccer tournaments in the Northeast. Just tell you a little bit about the East Brunswick soccer program. We have one of the largest soccer programs going on in the state. Recreational teams and traveling teams going to different communities each weekend, and our teams participate in tournaments. Well, on Labor Day weekend, we host one of the major tournaments, and there'll be teams coming here and playing games at several different fields. At Hammersholt Field, you'll be able to see boys born in 1973, 74, and 75. At Bicentennial Field, girls born 74, 75, 76, and 77, and also some boys born in 77. At Diedrichson Park, which is the brand new park that we've built over the years, on Cranberry Road by the fairgrounds, the new soccer fields, you'll see girls born in 1970 and 71, 72 and 73, and boys born in 1972, 76, 78, and 79. There'll be a lot of great soccer going on. In the older girls divisions, for example, some of the finest teams in the country are here. We have one of the great teams from Michigan is here to play a team, several teams, including one of the great teams from Virginia. In the boys division, the 1972 boys, Ted Tharney's boys, will be playing, and that's one of the finest teams in the state. There are two Canadian teams from the Ontario area have come down, and they'll be participating, and they'll be at Bicentennial Park. In the 74s, you'll see some great soccer. Pete Gagumas's team will be participating, along with a former state champion and some other really fine teams. One of the best teams from Virginia, the Burke Vista, Virginia team is here. In 76, we also have some Canadian teams. And of course, the 76 team, Rich Klepak's team, is also a state champion. Jamshid Rabi's girls are also a state champion. You'll see some fine soccer in that group. So no matter what age group you're interested in watching play, I think you're going to see some fine soccer Labor Day weekend. All the games will be played at these three locations, and the finals will be played on Monday. That's on Monday, on Labor Day, September 7th, at the park, the brand new Diedrichson Park, which is right on Cranberry Road, and right in the back, the brand new fields have been set up, and you'll see some exciting soccer. At each of these fields, by the way, every day there'll be refreshment stands where you can get soft drinks, hot dogs, programs, T-shirts, sweatshirts, many different souvenirs of this fine tournament. And one key thing is the work that's being done in this tournament. It's a total volunteer effort. We are one of the largest programs in town, and the coaches all volunteer. Nobody's paid for their work. The people who will be manning the refreshment stands are all volunteers, and they'll be doing a fine job here. And all the funds that we raise here will be used for the soccer program. So we'd appreciate if you come on out. We'd love to see you here, whether you have children playing soccer or not. But you'll see a lot of great soccer because the teams have come from all over the country, and we look forward to seeing you.
Hello, my name is Ed Jablinowski, and I'm the recycling coordinator for East Brunswick Township. As you may know, the township implemented a twice-a-month curbside collection system for aluminum cans and glass containers beginning on August 1st, 1987. Basically, we're going to collect color-separated glass and aluminum cans twice per month on the same collection days as our current newspaper program. Let me just talk a little bit about the containers and how I recycle them in my house. And maybe you can get some ideas from this, and maybe you have a better way. But first off, I'd like to talk about aluminum cans. Most aluminum cans are soda and beer, and you can usually read on the side of the can, it'll say all aluminum can or aluminum please recycle. We'll also be collecting clear glass, brown glass, and green glass. Now, what I do in my home is I save these containers in my kitchen, and then I place them in a paper bag next to my regular garbage can in the kitchen, and I take them to my collection area in the basement. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and when we get into the basement, I'll show you some of the things that I have to do to prepare my glass for the township's program. Now, when this bag in my kitchen is filled up, I bring it down to my basement where I sort the containers by color. A few points of interest. On wine bottles usually has a ring, and if the ring doesn't come off with the cap, you have to remove it. So I use just a pair of wire cutters, and I discard this ring. Also, please remove all caps. Like I said before, some of the rings come off with the cap. Now, as I mentioned before, we'll be collecting aluminum cans, and if you got our flyer in the mail, I've asked that you please crush the cans. This makes for a more efficient collection. The easiest way to crush a can, simply just to pinch the sides and to step on it.
Okay, stop.
These containers are the simplest way to sort your glass at home. Beginning August 15th, Kmart will be stocking these containers. There'll be 4 containers for $9, and it'll be available starting August 15th at Kmart. As you can see, I also save my newspapers down here. The township prefers that you bundle them up with string rather than put them in paper bags to help us sell the papers. When my buckets are full, I'll take them out to the curb for the township's twice per month collection. A collection map will be shown at the end of this program. As I mentioned before, when the cans fill up, you put them out on the curb and set them a little bit away from your regular trash can so we can tell the difference. And one more thing, I mentioned before about removing the rings from the bottles. Although we were requesting this, it's not absolutely necessary, but it does help the township have more possibilities in marketing its glass. My collection days are the 2nd and 4th Saturdays, and I'm really happy because of this. Because I don't have to take my recyclables to the recycling center anymore. The township will pick them up right from my curb. Thanks for watching, and happy recycling.
Hi, this is Peggy Ballister-Howells, Middlesex County Agricultural Agent. And Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things to do in the garden. It's sort of like reaping the benefits of all your hard work. We're going to take a bouquet of cut flowers out of the garden. Right here we have a beautiful display of mixed zinnias. We have some wonderful reds, this nice sort of corally pink, and some oranges. Before you take your cut flowers, you should make sure you get rid of all the dead ones. Something like this is beginning to deteriorate, and you want to get rid of this. So when you take the cutting, make sure that you go to where there's a joint so that you don't leave any bare stems. This one still has a little color, but it's past its prime. We don't want this one anymore. Okay, this one unfortunately was a little bit injured. The stem is bent. Looks like it might be worth saving, but it's not going to last very long on the vine. So we'll take that one off too. Cut it past the bend mark. Now, whenever you take a cut flower, you should put it in water right away. I have here a 5-gallon bucket. 5-gallon buckets are a great tool in the garden, not only for flowers, but for a lot of other things. So we'll stick this one right in there, and we'll take care of it later to make sure that it's in the right amount, but you want to keep it in water right away. If it's exposed to the heat, it'll start to wilt, and it's hard to recover after that. The best time to take your cut flowers is in the first thing in the morning, after it's been cool during the night and the plants are nice and turgid. At the end of a hot day, the plants are going to be limp, so you don't want to take your cuttings then. It's especially good today because we had rain all night and they're nice and perky and stiff. Now, let's see, I really like this one. I'm going to go in and cut it. Again, you go right to where there's a joint or a branching so that you don't leave ugly stems sticking out. You put them right here in the water. These red ones are really spectacular. Now I can really cut it here. That'll give me a short stem and leave 2 buds, or I can cut it back further. I think I want a long stem on this one. Put them right in. Now this one's excellent because you can see here that I can cut it right to this joint, and there's a nice little side branch that's going to blossom in another few days. Okay, you've got a few here. You certainly would cut more of different varieties. They mix well with marigolds and other flowers, but it's very important that when you go to arrange them, that you strip off the bottom leaves. The leaves in the water will begin to rot and will cause the flowers to deteriorate more quickly. Another thing that you always want to do is make a second slice. Cutting with the clippers works well for getting them out of the garden, but it pinches the sides and is not the best way to make a cutting. Best way, right before you're ready to arrange them, is to take a sharp knife and make a cut at an angle. It's sort of like when you slice salami at an angle, you get a much larger oval. If you cut it straight, you get a circular piece. The same thing, you get an oval cutting, which allows for larger openings in the pores of the stem, so it will take up water much more efficiently. So you want to do that with all of them. Change the water every couple of days. Keep them out of the sun when they're in the house, and you should have a nice arrangement of flowers to last several days, a week, maybe even longer. And they certainly are pretty. We'll see you next time in the garden.
And now for Health Facts with Dr. Martin Rosenstein. Dr. Rosenstein is an allergist practicing in East Brunswick.
I would now like to discuss practical approaches to the prevention and treatment of allergies. The cornerstone of this approach is avoidance. The very best form of allergy therapy, better than medication or desensitization therapy, is avoidance. At the very best, these other modes can only approach the success of having no contact at all with the offending substances. Unfortunately, this is not always possible. If every time a patient ingests, say, beef, he has a severe allergic reaction, it is logical and quite easy to avoid this substance. If, however, the problem is exposure to grass or tree pollen, complete avoidance is practically impossible, and one must strive to minimize the exposure. In extreme situations, an actual relocation within the geographical area or even to a different geographical area can be helpful. However, there are many other non-allergic factors influencing people's lives, and relocation should only be considered in extreme life-threatening situations. I would now like to give you some practical tips to help avoid airborne allergens. Most of these will be given in an absolute sense. This works well in theory, but not so well in the real world where we all live. In cases where symptoms are mild, one must strike a balance between how much discomfort they are willing to bear and how carefully they want to follow these environmental tips. Moderation is often a key consideration. Perhaps one of the biggest emotional problems I must deal with in practice is when I discover animal allergy in a patient with a household pet. Ideally, the animal should be removed from the house. However, the emotional trauma on the patient or other members of the family is often quite severe. Frequently, the family just won't comply with the instruction to remove the pet. At the very least, the animal should be removed from the patient's bedroom and more properly from the living section of the house completely. If symptoms persist or are severe to begin with, one must then go one step further and actually remove the pet from the home. Remember, when the animal is removed from the living area, this must be done all of the time. It is the pet's dander we are sensitive to, and thus if the animal is allowed to return, even rarely, it will shed and cause a problem. On the same point, even after the animal is removed from the living section, do not expect instant relief. Even with vigorous cleaning, it will probably take at least a month to rid the area of the dander. House dust is another common allergic substance. If that is a problem, there are practical considerations to be dealt with. Since we spend 1/3 to 1/2 of our time in the bedroom, this is a good place to start. New pillows of a foam or synthetic material should be washed once a month and replaced yearly. Mattresses and box springs should be vacuumed and encased in an impervious plastic cover. Blankets and comforters should be synthetic and washed monthly. Bedspreads should be cotton or other washable material. The bedroom should be completely cleaned with a cloth, dampened only with water at least weekly, with the patient kept away from the cleaning during these times. The bedroom should be cleared of all sources of dust as well as drapes, toys, and open bookshelves. The bedroom closet should be used only for clothing in current use and the door kept closed at all times. Everything in the room should be dustproof and washable. Use synthetic or cotton rugs or none at all. Plain and unupholstered furniture can be used if damp cleaned at least weekly. Once these measures have been performed, then encourage use of this room for the patient. These measures can be used in other parts of the home as well and as needed. Mold is a very common allergen. It grows best in dark, damp areas. The best way to control its growth is through dehumidifiers in the basement and proper ventilation in the bathrooms. Occasionally, in extreme cases, the use of a commercial fungicide in damp areas is necessary. Air conditioning and filtration of particles is quite important. During the pollen season, the patient's windows should be closed constantly and air conditioning used. Hot water heating is preferable to hot air. With hot air heat especially, particulate matter control is important. Although a central air cleaner is fine for the whole family, if one must choose economically, you are better off with a room unit placed in the sufferer's bedroom. With both filtration and air conditioning, the filters must be changed or cleaned frequently. An ideal climate in the home is a temperature of 65 to 70 degrees and a relative humidity of 35 to 50%. Deviation in either direction from these levels acts as an irritant and makes the allergy sufferer uncomfortable. Combinations of heaters, air conditioners, humidifiers, and dehumidifiers, all properly maintained, should be used to keep this climate. On windy, high pollen days, stay in as much as possible. If it is necessary to go out, wear a pollen mask or a portable nose filter. Thus, there are many things you can practically do to minimize allergies. All are aimed at avoidance. With a few minutes' thought, I am sure that you can add many others to this list. I am Dr. Martin Rosenstein, and this has been Health Facts.
Hello, and welcome to Consumer Aware. I'm Adrienne Eisner, Director of the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. It is a really hot summer day. The sun beats down. All you want to do is sit somewhere cool. And that's the best thing you could do, because heat stress can be a real danger to many people when a heat wave hits. Heat stress is caused by the body's inability to adjust to sudden increases in temperature, and the elderly are especially vulnerable. It puts a dangerous strain on the heart and blood pressure and can lead to heat exhaustion, heart failure, and stroke. Signs of heat stress include dizziness, rapid heartbeat, diarrhea, nausea, cramps, throbbing headache, chest pain, weakness, mental changes, breathing problems, and vomiting. If you experience any of them, call a doctor immediately. Here are some ways to avoid heat stress by keeping cool. Use air conditioners if you have them, or go someplace that does, such as a shopping mall, senior citizen center, or movie theater. If you don't have an air conditioner, use a fan to draw in cool air at night and to keep air moving during the day. Take cool baths or showers. Wear lightweight, light-colored, loose-fitting clothing, and wear hats or use umbrellas to keep out the sun. Drink more water during hot weather. Don't wait until you are thirsty. Avoid alcohol, which acts as a diuretic, resulting in faster water loss. Avoid hot foods and heavy meals. Digesting them adds heat to your body. Finally, curtail physical activity during extremely hot weather. Activity adds to heat strain. I hope that you will take these precautions so that you can enjoy the summer without experiencing the problems of heat stress. If we can be of further assistance to you with consumer problems or inquiries, please contact us at the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. We're in our office from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. The telephone number is 390-6954. Thank you for joining me on Consumer Aware. See you again next time.
At Monday night's Township Council meeting, the Council listened to differing opinions regarding bingo traffic at the Nativity of Our Lord Church. Church members explained that the church cannot afford to retain the special police required by their license. Residents living near the church recounted past problems with the bingo traffic and urged the council to continue to require special police to monitor the traffic. The council decided to waive the condition, which requires an officer at games held during the day and to maintain one officer for the night games. A resolution authorizing release of performance guarantees for Oakcrest Estates was delayed until September 28th after a number of residents complained about problems not yet taken care of by the developer. The council approved an ordinance which will allow Peter Kolbacki, owner of the Brunswick Memorial Home, to construct a driveway which will provide access from Evergreen Boulevard and Timber Hollow. Also, an amendment which would limit the size of individual commercial buildings in the town green to 20,000 square feet was tabled until the planning board reviews it. The developer's representative told the council that more detailed plans for the town green area are forthcoming. During the public portion, a representative from Society Hill East 1 informed the council that private trash haulers for the condominium and townhome developments in town have more than doubled their fees. He was joined by other townhome owners in requesting that the council consider relieving them of the financial burden of paying for private trash collection. And saving the best, or at least most controversial, for last, the Council voted 3-1 to file a federal court suit against Edgeboro landfill. With Councilman Bill Kirk voting no and Council President Russell Walker abstaining, an anticipated expenditure of $15,000 was okayed. The Council also agreed to increase to $130,000 the maximum amount to be paid for its environmental attorneys to continue the fight to prevent the expansion of the landfill. That's all for this week. Join us again next Thursday night at 7 and 8 for another edition of This Week in East Brunswick.